This man once looked me in the eye during an interview and said, "We don't need your credentials. Wewe ni rangi ya thao." So recalls Vivian Obino, a Kenyan journalist. Hi guys. I have been AWOL. I'm back. Exams zilikuwa zinanimaliza. So, but I'm back now. Back to back videos because I'm done. And I apologize, but like masomo pia ni muhimu. Yeah. Colorism is defined by Oxford Languages as prejudice or discrimination against individuals with a dark skin tone, typically among people of the same ethnic or racial group. Kama hujaisikia hiyo aki, we have a long way to go. Growing up in Kenya, colorism and prejudice towards dark-skinned individuals, mostly women, is prevalent. It is such a shock that such a literate and learned nation cannot unlearn a Eurocentric construct. Colorism in Kenya transcends class, it transcends social circles, it transcends geography, and today we shall explore the aspects of Kenyan life that are riddled with this disease. As always, we must understand the origins of colorism and how this came about. The question is always, why do we care about social issues? Why should one stop being colorist? Because of the violence that comes with it. And by violence, I mean the dehumanization, the adverse microeconomic effects, and self-hatred that arises from colorism as an ideology and system. As Lupita Nyong'o said, colorism is the child of racism. Colorism is based off of the dehumanization of those that are not white. So the darker a person is, the less humanity they are afforded. So black people are the most dehumanized, and especially dark-skinned women. Additionally, abiding to colorism is not fair to yourself as a black person. It is not humanizing yourself. It is not humanizing your family and friends. It costs women jobs, fulfilling relationships, self-esteem. It is a symbolic violence upon the African society and the black individual. Chapter 1. The Roots of Colorism. For this one, we delve even further into the past, to slavery. Slavery is the commercialization of this dehumanization I just explained. Within slavery, slave masters would let the light-skinned people who were conceived through the rape of black slaves to work in the house instead of the fields. The traces of whiteness granted them humanity and was seen as smarter, so basically more human, more advanced than the dark-skinned people. This was then fortified by the paper bag test, which was used to grant access to certain services and even the inside of the house. This cemented whiteness as the standard for all communities all over the world, because slavery and colonialism. This cemented whiteness as the standard for all communities all over the world, because slavery and colonialism were orchestrated by the same people. The colonization of Kenya ratified this standard because lighter-skinned people look almost white, a proximity to whiteness. And I think this is clear to see with how Kenyans date. The goal is always to date a mzungu because being white represents success. It represents money. It represents not being black. Yani, mnapenda kuwa pick-mes, mnataka kuchaguliwa. Anyways, Chapter 2, Misogynoir. To talk about colorism, we must talk about those affected by it, and that is mostly dark-skinned women. My family is full of beautiful dark-skinned women, and that is the representation of beauty I grew up with. I wasn't aware of this colorism thing. Like, I didn't know that what you guys had going on. And then as I became older and heard the jokes that people would say about dark skins, and I grow even older and I would notice the jokes would become more and more towards women. It was about dark-skinned women in specific. And I'd hear the sentiments that dark-skinned women themselves around me would say about their own skin. Clearly, women are disproportionately affected by colorism because anti-blackness is also founded by patriarchal principles. The woman's role is to be beautiful. Beauty means you get awarded some semblance of humanity. But when beauty is white, black women, and especially dark-skinned women, don't even get close to being shown this humanity. Misogynoir as a term was first termed by Moya Bailey. She defined it as the ways anti-black and misogynistic representation shape broader ideas about black women, particularly in visual culture and digital spaces. And this was further expounded to mean the forms of anti-black and misogynistic discriminations propagated against black women. Colorism combines both racism and misogyny in that it disproportionately affects dark-skinned black women. Lupita Nyong'o, Elsa Majimbo, Yvonne Okwara are all dark-skinned women in popular media that have countlessly shared the hurdles they face and have faced within the colorist Kenyan society. Dark-skinned men, although facing dehumanization, are seen as the pillar of masculinity, which in patriarchy is favorable as an African man. Dark-skinned women are framed as masculine, crazy, or even unattractive. And you see this especially when it comes to characteristically light-skinned tribes. Kikuyu and Kamba women are coveted. They are preferred and seen as more feminine, yani usiguze murima and such. But when it comes to Kisii and Luo women, they are talked about as ugly, crazy, and loud. Even if these women align with the hourglass big behind standard, their skin tone is not close to whiteness, and therefore they are too black, which is very reminiscent of the colorist culture in America. And now it is a good time to talk about Chapter 3, the American influence on Kenyan media and how that propagates colorism in Kenya. I often find that Kenyan media parallels American pop culture. If we talk about genge music and 2000s hip-hop culture, if we talk about rap music videos, or even how our shows try to mimic American shows because of how much influence Black Americans have when it comes to the standard for pop culture. And the thing is, Black American media, because of racism and slavery, is riddled with colorism, like all the way from choosing a light-skinned Rosa Parks to the 2016 mixed people with 3C hair craze. And Kenyan media mirrors this colorist ideals. A paper by Millicent Award Otieno researched the colorism in advertisement in the Nation newspaper. Number 4, finding and discussions on colorism in advertisements in Kenyan print newspapers. The study reads, the study established that out of the 93 females that advertised different products and services in the print newspaper, 71% were light-skinned, 11 were dark-skinned, 12% were chocolate-skinned, and 3% were white, while 3% were Caucasian. And let's not forget the insane Brenda Wairimo run in Kenyan TV, as if all actresses had stopped existing in Kenya in the 2010s. And when we look at video vixens, Vera Sidika, a well-known socialite in Kenya who recently lightened her skin, said in an interview that the response to the change is overwhelming. She got more business deals and more gigs as soon as she lightened her skin. Men compliment her more, and even the number of suitors has increased. It is life-changing, she says. And I chalk this all up to American media and how much the Kenyan creative industry tries to replicate it, mixed in with tribalism and misogynoir. Chapter 4, the Kenyan colorist life, the colorist Kenyan life. Now, I'm just gonna name things in Kenya that are colorist, or like how we live life without noticing that we are propagating colorism. Number 1, if you are not a mixed girl, forget about going into Nairobi clubs. Number 2, terms such as black beauty, because what does that mean? Black and beauty are not mutually exclusive. Number 3, dating preferences za kifala tu. Like, we've seen all these different clips about how dark-skinned women must try even harder to be attractive or something like that, or how men don't want to date women who are the same skin tone as them because they don't want their children to come out dark-skinned. And then number 4, certain products on the market. Like, I remember there used to be a Fair and Lovely craze. Fair and Lovely. Anyways. And I'll touch in conclusion on bleaching. Bleaching is as a result of a colorist culture. People demonize those that bleach their skin in the way that they demonize women that get plastic surgery. But if you are in a country, if you are in a society, or if you yourself propagate an oppressive societal ideal, how is it surprising that women will take it to extremes to fit this standard? Dark-skinned women want to feel human. If you have colorist tendencies, please review your self-hate. Dark skin is beautiful. Decolonize the mind. Thanks for watching, and if you want to support me, you can click the link down below to buy me a coffee on tip basis, okay? Goodbye and see you on the next one.